All right, friends, Peggy Hall back with you from thehealthyamerican.org. This is a short video for you. I have several videos coming up about the coverage on these unfathomable and very shocking and devastating fires in the greater Los Angeles area. I have well over 100 videos about fire behavior, about the fire anomalies, going back to the fires in Lahaina, the fires that were in Canada, that were in the Canary Islands, that were in Texas, that were in Oregon. So I've broken this down in detail, not only on this channel, but on my Substack, which is peggyhall.substack.com. I've spoken about all of the incompetency of the imbeciles that are in the government and how they have convenient cover stories for being out of the country, for gutting the budget of the fire department, for focusing on DEI instead of personnel that would actually be competent. The governor giving equipment to Ukraine, as I'm told, and not having correct water management. All of these things are true. I believe that those are convenient cover stories that were put in place intentionally so that it would obscure what I believe is the true fact, which is an intentional attack upon the population. Listen, I can't even imagine how difficult that would be for certain people to hear, especially if they were the victims of this latest terrorist attack. Just look at what happened in Lahaina. I have dozens and dozens of videos on this channel, and I'll be continuing to bring you coverage. The purpose of this video today is to put really a human face to the story. Now, I am steadfast in my resolve to not inflict more trauma by intentionally sharing with you relentless images of unfathomable devastation. If you want to see that, there are plenty of channels that are covering that. I want to point out a couple of anomalies. And then I also wanted to share with you a very heart-wrenching story of a woman who lives and her family who lives in Sunset Mesa, which is an area near Malibu and Pacific Palisades that really has been devastated. And I'm not going to share that with you in terms of the video, but I will show you the picture and you can click through to the Instagram page if you want to see it. I'm going to share with you a shorter clip of her and her husband driving through the neighborhood. And I want you to see the anomalies in the aftermath. But this woman and her family had the wherewithal to stand their ground at their house with their own water hoses and a pump from their pool. And apparently people are doing this in Southern California, knowing that they are at a fire risk. And so they have some kind of setup where they can get pressure and water from their pool in order to put out their house. So this image that I have for you here is actually a fireman who was nearby, and he is using the water from this family's pool. And when you watch the video, if you do, and if you do, she does mention a few things like their plastic grass that is melting and that she had masks left over from COVID. That notwithstanding, it's a very harrowing first person account of what they did to try to keep their home and their neighbors' homes from burning. My understanding is that her home was lost at the end of it all, but they did make it through the fire for a couple of days. Now, what I want to share with you, actually, first, let me share this message because I think it's so powerful. And it's from a person that went through the fires in Paradise, California. And if you remember, this was probably something that woke a lot of people up. I believe that was in 2018. And those fires just defied the physics of fire behavior. And the town of Paradise was completely wiped out. There are so many anomalies that to this day people are still investigating, and there are so many parallels that are drawn with the fires that we've seen recently. Remember, Malibu was on fire a few months ago. California has had multiple fires. So if the governor wants to blame it on global warming, yes, warning, he should be giving a warning, and then he should have been better prepared if he expected these things. So you can't have it both ways if you're going to blame it on global warming but not be prepared. You and I know that there is a greater agenda afoot. And if you are not aware of that, simply go to the United Nations website. I'll be doing more coverage for you. I've done lots of coverage on that related to the Lahaina fires and how these governors are on a fast march toward wiping out residential areas and rebuilding them. This governor Newsom is saying he wants to build back faster and stronger. So he, I guess, has been watching my videos because I called out Josh Green do deal that he wanted to build back better. And many, many, many dozens of lefties use that phrase, build back better. I call it burn back better. Yes, there is a book by that title. I'm glad that I could have inspired it. And we are seeing it again and again, just in time for the 2028 Olympics so they could clear the way. I have coverage on that on other videos. What I want to share with you is this message from someone who went through the Paradise Fire. She wrote in response to this woman who described her heroic, basically, attempts to keep her house from burning down and the neighbors' homes. This person wrote, "I'm so sorry. We live in Magalia, and our town, along with Paradise, burned down in 2018. It was a similar nightmare, and it continues to this day. Our big cedars continued to die from stress from the fire. Hundreds of cars were burned in the roadway. Like asphalt doesn't catch on fire. Very strange. People ran for their lives. FEMA came to Paradise and tore down every structure for a year or two after the fire. All the soil had to be decontaminated before rebuilding began. Our water system was affected. Our roads were destroyed. All homes that didn't burn had to install expensive water filtration systems. Our houses had to be cleaned of all the fire and smoke damage. Everyone's refrigerators that didn't burn had to be thrown out, and they sat by people's curbs. It was so eerie. 30,000 people displaced, many moving to other states. That's part of the plan. And away from the place that we and our children called home for 35 years. One of my sons and his wife and two small children lived at an Indian casino until an apartment could be found. Thousands of people lived in RVs and trailers. Our lives are forever changed, and the trauma is real. Even if your house survived, your neighborhood and your town didn't, I'm sorry for what you are all facing. I just wanted to let you know that it's not an easy future, and I send my best wishes. This also happened in Santa Rosa and Lahaina and many other towns in California. And then she adds in this other part that I don't particularly agree with. All the money in the world won't change the winds and the drought and the California fires. The fires can always be blamed on something, such as the drought and the winds, but it's really a part of life now that the state is so populated. So I don't care for that part of the narrative. It doesn't matter how many people live somewhere. What matters is how fire behaves. And yes, there were winds. And the question is, why were there Santa Ana winds in January when that is also an anomaly? I've had some Californians tell me they remember winds in January. I don't, from decades of living there. It's possible that it happened. That's why I call it an anomaly, that it is out of order. Now, what I want to share with you actually is this very short video. I'm not even going to play the sound. I just want you to look at the images and tell me if you see what I see. Speaking of anomalies. So this is the woman and her husband. Husband is driving. And this is the aftermath when they tried to save their house. Again, I'm not going to play the sound. So check out and see what you see is still standing. Did you see that blue trash can? And there's a blue van. I don't know if that drove up and was parked there later, if they're driving through like this person is. You can see some of the shrubbery that's untouched. I do understand that green foliage does contain water, but you would think that some of these other trees would be burnt to a crisp. Interesting how some houses are standing. It seems that it was sporadic, at least in this part of the neighborhood. Check again what you're seeing still standing. Did you see that blue trash can just drove by? I doubt that people brought trash cans out to the curb in the aftermath. I don't know if these are placed there to ridicule us, to taunt us. There was another blue trash can we just drove by, or they just drove by that we just saw. Just massive. There was another one right there. Massive damage, the burnt out cars. Again, those palm trees are still standing. And then some of these, I don't know why they cut the footage right there. It's possible that some of these cars drove up later to assess the damage. And there's more blue trash cans. Did you see those? So I just wanted to share that with you, friends. There's another one. So I'm going to pause for a moment and I can leave you the links for these Instagram videos if you would like to watch them. What do you think? Do you think these images of the blue trash cans are there as telltale signs? There was a news report where the reporter showed what was left of the wreckage, and there was a frame of a blue bicycle and there was a blue pair of tennis shoes. And I've spoken about the symbolism of shoes. It's a symbol. There are many symbols associated with them, but shoes at the scene can indicate kind of like the conqueror, and those who are shoeless are the slaves. That's just a very brief glimpse. And many of you have pointed me in the direction of other clues about the shoes, but I just think it's strange that they would show that out of all the things that they could do. So these blue trash cans showing up again and again in the footage. I don't know if these people knew about that, or I don't know if they were showing that intentionally, but it is strange. Were those set there as a way to rub our noses in it? Were those trash cans just blown in the wind? Why did some houses have them and some others didn't? The main question I have is, how are those trash cans unmelted and undamaged when they're in such close proximity to cars that were basically incinerated? If you're telling me that an outdoor fire that burns at 1100 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's the physics of fire, but you have that kind of result of the melted steel and aluminum and the other amounts of, and the other levels of destruction that would indicate fires burning at 2500 degrees or more, it doesn't add up. And let's say that for some freak reason, the fires are burning at 2500 degrees. Well, they must be. And of course, that could be from a different type of energy, like microwave energy, which doesn't burn plastic. That's why if you're cooking in a microwave oven, you can put in plastic. I'm sure at some amount of heat it would, but we're seeing those trash cans untouched. What say you? Friends, stick with me. I just wanted to kind of put a human face on things. I don't want to be flippant in my coverage. My heart goes out to all of these individuals that have been so devastated by this unspeakable trauma. So thank you, everybody, for being on board, and stay tuned to my videos. Make sure that you are subscribed, and together we are going to keep digging into the rubble and exposing the evil doers and determine what we can conclude from this latest, in my view, intentional attack upon the population. What can you do? You can be prepared. You can have your go bag. You can pray. You can reach out to your neighbors. You can have an emergency plan. In my view, the most important thing, live your life honoring God. Live your life to the fullest, enjoying what you have, counting your blessings, living in gratitude. So if that day comes when suddenly things are just destroyed, everything that you hold near and dear, you won't have those regrets of not paying attention to your life previously. Thank you, everybody, for being on board. I so am appreciative for you being in my Healthy American audience, and I'll see you in the very next broadcast.